Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. This is It's Your Healthy Lifestyle show, hosted by the founder of this platform, Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and myself, Roland Friedl. How important is your health and fitness to you? We show you how you can easily eat healthier every day, how you can improve your fitness and recover much quicker after your exercises and workouts. Families will learn how to optimize their children's health and nutrition. And finally, you will also hear how you live a long, healthy and fit life into your old age. Join us here on It's Your Healthy Lifestyle.
Hello, Roland. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. How are you today, my friend?
Hello, Dr. JACALYN. Hello to our audience. I'm pretty fine. Thanks a lot. I'm here in the Mediterranean area. Pretty nice people, warm, sunny weather, good food. So perfect.
I know. I love your social media posts. You're always eating well. You've been getting some sun and you look great.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You look great. You look, Dr. JACALYN.
Thank you. Thank you. I taught 2 TRX classes this morning, so I'm ready to go. And I know you love the TRX as well.
Yes, I bought a TRX some years ago because I'm traveling a lot and I don't have the chance to go regular to a gym because it's sometimes very difficult to get a day ticket, or in some regions there isn't a gym available. So I bought a TRX, and yeah, I love to work out with a TRX because you always find an opportunity where you can hang it or install it, and you work with your own body weight. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a full body workout. I love it. So it's apropos that we're on the show. It's Your Healthy Lifestyle. Today, we're going to be talking about longevity and the blue zones, what we need to know. So for people who don't know what the blue zones are and where they are, can you give us a little bit of background?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, the blue zones is a non-scientific term. Yeah, the blue zone is just a given a geographic area or geographic regions where are the homes of some world oldest people. And the background is there is an author, his name is called Dan Buettner, and the book he was writing is called actually The Blue Zones. and he did a lot of research about where the oldest people live, what is in common, what do they eat, how do they drink, sleep, and so on. We go in that deeper in a few minutes. And the word blue zone, or the term blue zone, comes from that because on a world map he made some blue circles around these areas. That's why they call the blue zones. So it's quite easy. And these blue zones are actually 5 worldwide in different areas. But the name blue zone comes because he made blue marks around this area. So it's a non-scientific term.
Thank you so much, Roland. You know, we have a number of shows on our platform where we really dive into longevity. And so before we get more into the blue zones, a question that I have for you, I know you are a Juice Plus distributor, as am I. You've been on Juice Plus 30 years this year, right?
Yes, in June it's going to be 30 years. Yeah, incredible.
30 years, amazing. How much of our longevity do you feel is really aligned with our genes, and how much is really aligned with the decisions and the choices that we make? Do you have any idea?
Well, first of all, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a scientist, but I'm very into nutrition. I'm very into healthy lifestyle. I have very good close friends who are scientists and do a lot of research about longevity and all these things. And they told me that actually the genes has a very low impact. It has an impact for sure, but we know from genetics that even if you have a genetic damage, like I do, for example, I have a genetic damage, who actually would kill me very quick if I wouldn't counterwork against it. But so I know that I can do a lot of stuff. I can eat very healthy. I can work out regularly. I drink a lot of water, almost no alcohol. I sleep good. I'm a happy person. So genes have a very low impact. In actually, all the studies show that the genes are responsible for everything, but we now know it's absolutely not true. Genes are an excuse. We can always change. And when we talk about how it's called, this hypergenetics and other stuff, we exactly know that you can change your genes. You can have an impact through your lifestyle on your genes.
I love that you just used the word excuse, because how many times have we heard, oh, it's going to happen to me anyway. I'm predisposed to having XYZ because it's in my family genes. She had it, they had it, I'm going to have it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, sometimes when a baby is born with a gene deficit or a gene defect, of course it has some disadvantages, but you can compensate it with a very good, healthy lifestyle. That's the truth. You can compensate it. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I know for myself, and I've shared before, I have ulcerative colitis. When I start going a little off the rails with what I'm eating, I can tell my intestines are not happy with me, and then I've got to go the other way, and I've got to go right back to intermittent fasting and be really strict about what I'm eating. So for me, I know it's definitely true. I was just talking to a friend today about the intermittent fasting and how important it is, and making sure that you have enough water. And if you're going to have sugar or you're going to have alcohol, it has to be in moderation. It can't be a regular thing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, it's a question of preference and choices. You know, you're making every single day. You know, and as I said, man, it's up to us. Yeah, what we eat, how often we eat, how many calories we take in, and so on and so on. But also, it's the same as with workout, with sleeping, and our community, the people who surround us, if they're toxic or not. So we can have it's in our hands, to be honest. It's absolutely in our hands.
Yeah, it's very true. And you know, you and I are around the same age, although I'm older than you are. But in 2 weeks, I'm going to be 61. I know when I was younger, I want to say even in my 40s, that I could make bad choices with what I'm eating. I could have pizza and cookies and whatever it was, and I could work it off. So I could, if you just look at the calorie intake, I could burn off the calories and I wouldn't see any fat, or I wouldn't see any negative results. But as you get older, it's more and more difficult. So you have to look at the entire process, where it's not just about calories, but it's about your lifestyle. Because as the body starts to change, the organs are getting older as well. And so they're not functioning like they were when you were 18 years old. So we have to really think about this casing that we have and what's inside of it.
Yeah, absolutely, because our metabolism is slowing down when we're getting older. I mean, I remember when I was younger, I can eat like hell. I remember once I was in a restaurant, I had two starters, un primo, due secondi means two main plates and a dessert. And when I ordered the second main plate, I will never forget that it was in my students' time on university, that the waiter was looking under the table, because I always have dog, you know, I had a huge dog at this time too. And I said, no, it was not the dog, it was me. And I said, how can you eat? Because I always had 74 kilos. I don't know how many pounds this is, 150 or something. Not very slim. But it changed now. And to be honest, I'm not so hungry anymore. I cannot eat so much on at the same time, because my metabolism is slowing down. So the reason, and that's the reason, the older I become, the more I take care about what I'm taking in, because I want to have, I eat less, but it has to be nourishing me, meaning full of nutrients, full of nutrients. That's so important to me. So I take care that I get enough protein. Protein is very important when you're getting older. You don't lose, because we are normally using muscle mass, of course. So high in protein. I also eat high in fat, to be honest, and very low in carb. That's what I do.
Now, I want to discuss this with you, and then we'll segue into the blue zones. I've had a lot of people going back and forth, one side or the other. And based on what I've learned from being on this platform with people like yourself and Red and others, is eating less meals and having more time in between when you eat is the way to go. But I know so many people who do not agree with that. And they think you should be eating 5, 6, 7 small meals a day. And for someone like me who has intestinal problems, I don't want my intestines working all the time. It's like you're running a car and you're not in it, but it's running constantly. What are your thoughts about the school of thought that eating small meals, multiple 6, 7 times a day is the way to go?
I mean, actually, when you're in good shape, meaning you're not overweight and you're training on a regular basis, it makes sense to eat more often, smaller ones. Yeah, this makes sense. But if you want to lose weight, you have to have at least 4 to 6 hours breaks in between, because otherwise, when your body is producing insulin, because you always have an intake of a snack, or even if it's an apple, yeah, that has sugar, meaning carbs, yeah, then your body is producing insulin. And as long as your body is producing insulin, you cannot burn fat. It's impossible. Actually, friends of mine who have a huge farm, they use insulin to grow their pigs very fast. Yeah. So insulin, you cannot lose weight. You cannot burn fat as long as your body is producing insulin. So you always have to have this 4 to 6 hours insulin gap, meaning no snacking, just water, even though, I don't know, whatever is tasting sweet. And the point is, it's not about sugar. Even if you have a zero diet, drink, soft drink, what you have, it's not about the sugar, it's about the sweetness. So when we have receptors under our tongue, yeah, and when they taste sweet, they bring the message to the brain, sweet is coming, and then the brain says, okay, produce insulin. So even if you have a zero calorie drink, but it tastes sweet, your body's producing insulin. That's why this low calorie, this non-sugar stuff is not working out. And I look around, sorry guys, especially when I travel to the US, you always see these obese people with a huge bottle of zero, whatever brand it is. It's not working because your brain says, oh, sweet. Sweet means produce insulin, because our body and our genes are thousands and thousands of years old. And we used to produce insulin when we had sugar, meaning normal sugar, because artificial sugar wasn't available 100 years ago and 500 years ago and 1,000 years ago. So for the body, it doesn't make any difference if artificial zero-calorie sugar or it's normal high-calorie sugar is producing insulin. That's the true story.
That's a great point. Thank you. That actually makes a lot of sense. So if you're moving away from sugary drinks, but yet you're drinking, what about even water that has some kind of flavors in it? You see a lot of, at least here in the States, bottled water that has supposedly no sugar, but it has fruit juice in it that's supposed to make it
sugar.
Yeah, it's sugar. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know they're very popular, this flavored water. I don't understand it at all. My dog would never drink, or my cat even, they would never drink flavored water.
I love that. So let's move on to the blue zone. So I love the fact that you shared that there's no scientific reason for the name. The name is just, it's outlining it on a map. And the people who live in these blue zones, what are some of the characteristics that they have in common?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe start first where it's blue zones. Maybe
sure,
start
yeah,
first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are 5 areas in the world. The first area is Ikaria. It's a small island in Greece. So in Europe. This is Ikaria. This is one. It's in Greece. The other one is Ogliastra. Ogliastra is a small region in Sardinia in Italy. So it's also in Europe. The other one is Okinawa, which is in Japan. The other one is Nicoya Peninsula, which is in Costa Rica. And last but not least, there's one in the US, in California, in Loma Linda, in California. So these are the 5 so-called blue zones where the author, as I mentioned already, Dan Brittner, did his research because there most people become 90 or 100 or older. And this is very specific in this 5 regions. And the interesting thing is, these are 5 regions in the so-called modern Western world. Okay, that's important to understand in the modern Western world, because Costa Rica also is modern Western world for me. It's a rich country. I don't know if you travel ever there. It's quite expensive there. The Swiss of Middle America, it's very expensive there. So it's not in somewhere in Africa. It's not somewhere in the Amazonas. It's not somewhere in the Hindu Kush and the Himalayan area. So it's in Europe and in the US and Japan and in Costa Rica. Costa Rica. How do you call it? Costa Rica, sorry. So what they found out is in many studies that actually in these 5 areas, the so-called blue zone areas, most people live over 90 or even 100 years old. And the interesting thing is that, and because you asked me about genetics before, genetics in this area only have a very, very slow impact. It's much more the environmental influence, including their diet, so what they eat on a daily basis, how much they eat, when they eat, and about their lifestyle. And this what they found out with summarizing all the studies that has been done over decades is that this determines their lifespan. But we can go deeper in each zone what they exactly do.
So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate the research. A question I have for you is, do you know if the people who live in these various blue zones, are they in communication with each other? Is it sort of like a community, even though it's different parts of the world?
No, not at all. That's the interesting thing. No, there's no combination.
Okay.
They're not married in between or something, so they're not the same genes or something. No, it's separate areas in the world. But they have something very in common. What you mentioned is community. So what they have in common is they eat a very healthy diet. So in different areas, I will tell you what exactly in which area they eat. So they eat a very healthy diet. They also have calorie restrictions, meaning they have a so-called 80% rule, meaning they don't stop eating when they're 100% full. They stop eating when they're 80% full. So they don't eat until they're totally full. They stop earlier. They do calorie restrictions. They eat very healthy. For example, in Greece, they have this so-called Mediterranean diet, which is a lot of olive oil, I wouldn't say a lot, but they drink red wine, and in moderation could be very healthy. And they have homegrown vegetables in Greece. They eat, I know in Greece, they always have a lot of okra and different vegetables, homegrown. In Italy, in Sicily, what is interesting, they also drink red wine, but in moderation. Okay, in moderation. And so the interesting thing is that especially the men, I don't know what's the difference to women, but the men get very old in Oglastia in Sardinia. For example, in Japan, Okinawa, the ladies get very old, and it's also a form of their diet. It's a soy-based diet, but it's a different soy-based diet than we know in Europe or in the US. It's a different soya bean. And also in Costa Rica, in Nicoya Peninsula, they eat beans and corn tortillas. But ladies and gentlemen, it's not manufactured corn tortillas with all this artificial flavorings and I don't know, whatever colorings, whatever it is. So it's home-made corn tortillas, non-GMO corn tortillas. And then in Loma Linda, they also have a very a strict. This is the only area where they have a strict vegetarian diet. So a huge impact is food, but it's only one. So food means very, very clean. They mostly eat just from the area when it's grown in their own garden or from the neighborhood or from local farmers. So they eat very locally, calorie restrictions, and they don't use any so-called processed foods from supermarket. Almost no. So they cook at home. They eat very, very healthy. That's one point is diet. Healthy and low calories. That's one point.
I have a question for you about that. So to your knowledge, have people from outside the blue zones who are not eating healthy, maybe don't have good diet, good regimen, moved into the blue zones? Or is it typically these people, the families, generation after generation, they are born there and stay there? Is there any migration into them or not?
No, it's just families that have been living there for generations.
Okay, so then
That's
the calorie restrictions, all of these behavior traits are passed down from one generation to the next.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thank
one
you.
thing. Well, the other thing is when you look at this region, I mean, all these 5 areas are not areas where there is a lot of urbanization. There are small villages. There are not this huge supermarkets on every corner. So there's not this opportunity to buy all the things. Another thing is they work out on a daily basis because most of these areas are very hilly. So they really walk up and down. So they do a lot of exercise, and I would say exercise in moderation, just walking, walking slowly to see neighbors, walking slowly to go to the farmland, walking slowly to whatever, buy at the local market or whatever they do. So it's hilly areas, so they have to walk. They're not drive-ins, like in the US, where everybody has a drive-in or drive into the gym or something like that. No. So they do exercise in moderation. And what they do in Japan, in addition, is I don't know if you heard about Tai Chi. This meditative movement is Tai Chi. So they do a lot of exercise, but in moderation. They're not running marathons. They're not heavy lifting stuff. They just walk in moderations up and down the hills. That's what they do.
So as part of their daily routine, they're getting in a lot of movement anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Healthy movement. And it's a funny thing because you remember this, because I remember when I came back from Mallorca and I helped out my auntie, preparing firewood and all this stuff and working in their house. I said, oh my gosh, I could feel muscles. I never felt the gym, because the gym, you have always this routine with this stuff. And like, oh my gosh, that's quite interesting. And to be honest, from this time, I watched people working hard on farms or in the forest. They have cool muscles and sometimes different muscles. Yeah, it's a different workout.
Yeah, it's a different way of living.
Absolutely.
Very active.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so these guys eat a lot of plant-based food, and again, ladies and gentlemen, not this garbage vegan shit with a lot of, I don't know, numbers, preservatives, colorings, flavors. They eat a lot of plant-based food, but the real shit, clean stuff. Veggies, fruits from the garden or the local farms. Yeah, that's what they do. And a lot of fish also. And of course, they eat also meat, except the community or the area in California, in Loma Linda. They're 100% vegetarians. The other ones not. The other ones eat meat and fish too. That's one thing. So it's mostly plant-based. The other thing is, as I already said, they follow the so-called 80% rule. So they stop eating before they're totally full. They say, I cannot make it. Or maybe just certain ice cream. No, they stop earlier. This is a very healthy way to eat in moderation. Other ways that we discussed before is doing intermittent fasting. For example, 16 to 8, a 16 hours break between the last meal and the first meal on the next day. That's an option. Or there's another thing that's called OMD, 1 meal a day is possible. So calorie restriction is also very important for a healthy living. And actually, when we talk about this, people are getting old. They're getting old, but staying still healthy and mentally and physically. That's the point. I mean, our Western societies, I also see old people getting older and older. When I visit my mom, she's on dementia, she's suffering from dementia, and she's in a residence. I see many old people there, but they are differently than the people in this area. Okay, so this area, mentally and healthy, fit. That's very, very important. And calorie restriction is one of them. As I said, the other thing is they consume alcohol in moderation. I mentioned in the beginning that especially in Greece and in Italy, they drink red wine, but in moderation. Yeah, we know also from France, It's called I don't know if you've ever heard it in the US. It's called the French paradoxon. We all know that alcohol is not healthy at all, but in moderation, red wine has a lot of ingredients, phytonutrients that are very healthy. So red wine in moderation can be very healthy. That's what some of them drink, especially in Sardinia and in Greece. What I mentioned before is the exercise is part of the daily life. Actually, they're not signing up in the gym and go there. They walk up and down the hills to see the neighbors, to do their laundries, to, I don't know, get their food or whatever. So, and they, in moderation.
I have a question for you, Roland, about the one meal a day. So that's not across the board for all the blue zones, is it?
No, not at all. But it's one option. It's one option, but it's not in the blue zone. No, it's not one meal a day. No.
Have you ever followed that yourself?
I tried it out for myself. Yeah, it's not working for me. I guess it would have been worked if I would have been younger. If I know that in my 20s or 30s I could eat more with one meal. Now I cannot. I tried it out. I cannot. And the point is, I don't get enough calories for the day, and I don't get enough nutrients for the day when I have one meal a day. It's not working for me because I cannot eat so much at the same time. That's my problem. But when you're younger, you can do it. It's a good option.
Do you count calories?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. If you read the right thing, you don't have to count it. I don't know who brought it up, counting calories. If you eat the right thing, you can eat. You can eat and you're not gaining weight at all. You have to eat the right things. You don't have to count the calories. Not at all. No, I don't count calories at all. I did it years ago, and I found it's not working for me. Maybe I should eat the right things, and I don't have to count it. No, I don't count calories at all. What I do, the only thing I'm taking care is that I don't have too much carb intake. Not much carb intake. I guess 60 to 70% of my calorie intake, more or less, is fat. Really, is fat. Somebody say, "Oh, fat." No, it's fat because fat is satisfying me. I don't feel hungry. It's tasty. It's good for the brain. I eat fat, a lot of fat stuff, protein, and low in carb. That's but I don't count the calories in totally, not at all.
Can you give some examples of the types of food that have fat? What are you eating?
Well, depending, I'm a carnivore at most of the time, so I eat a lot of not lean meat at all. I don't eat lean chicken or stuff like that. I eat ribeye steaks, so that has fat. T-bone steaks. I eat bacon. But I have to say, I only eat this meat from farms I know personally. So I know that the animals are treated well. They're always outside the whole year. They run around free, and they're slaughtered on the property, not in a slaughterhouse. So they don't have any stress and pain. Yeah. So I eat fat meat, not lean ones. Fat one.
So does that mean?
And if you're more vegetarian, what is a good option when you need fat? Maybe you can eat nuts, or what is a very good option is avocado. Avocado is very fatty, very nourishing. So when I do, I do a few weeks carnivore, and then I change a little bit. I bring in fruits, and when I mean bring in fruit, I mean especially in summer, I bring in berries, wild berries, your blueberries, these wild strawberries from the forest, and then raspberries. And I also include avocados because avocado is a fruit; it's not a vegetable, by the way. So avocados are high in fat and very nourishing. Yeah.
Now, just because we're talking about the fruits right now, including avocado, you also take the Juice Plus supplements. Can you share with our audience the rationale behind, if you are eating right, why would you still need supplements?
I'm doing that. Yeah, because for me, meaning being healthy is not the absence of sickness. For me, being healthy means being healthy, fit, and full power. Yeah. So when you ask doctor and say, yeah, you're healthy, meaning you're not sick. So I mean, when you have a bottom line that is 0 and -10, -20, -30, this is sickness. Yeah. Whatever issues you have, mentally, physically. Yeah. So most people want to get back at 0 and are just fucking happy. I don't want to be on 0. I want to be on 100 plus. That's why I supplement in addition. That's the reason for it. I don't only want to be I don't want to only feel the absence of sickness. I only want to be 100% fit in my full power. That's why I supplement, even I eat very healthy most of the time. That's the reason for it.
Thank you. Thank you. That's excellent. So you're going through some of the behavior traits, the lifestyle choices that people in these blue zones are following. What else can you share?
A funny thing is, I know the next step is a little bit difficult for most of the people. They get enough sleep. And to be honest, when you watch at these areas, I know this island in Greek, I was there. I know this in Sardinia. I've never been to Japan in Okinawa, but I was in Costa Rica. They get enough sleep. And what do I mean by enough sleep is they go to bed when they're tired and they stand up when they're awake, and not because there's an alarm ringing and they go into a regular job. Okay, so they sleep as long as they want. That's one thing. And second is, most of them, especially in what is very typical in the Mediterranean area, and in this case in Italy, in Sardinia, and in Icaria, in Greece, is they taking a day nap, or the Spanish call it a siesta. So after lunch, they do a nap for half an hour or something like that. So they sleep actually very long, or as long as they want. Let's say it'll do. So they're not rushing out of the bed because the alarm is ringing and they have to rush to the office. They sleep as long as the body has the desire to sleep. That's what they do.
So they don't have specific times where I'm going to stop eating at this time, then I'm going to go to sleep at this time. It's just whenever they feel like it.
Yeah. Well, actually, they don't misunderstand me. They don't sleep for 10 or 15, 12 hours. No. They in average sleep for 7 hours, more or less. Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising.
It's an average of 7 hours to sleep.
How many hours a night of sleep do you typically get?
Sorry?
How many hours of sleep a night do you typically get?
Oh, it's depending on my day. You know, when I'm very, very busy and I feel stressed, I sleep more. When I have less stress is a good question. When I feel stressed, I sleep a little bit more. Well, depending, you know, I live in a motorhome. So actually last weekend I didn't sleep at all because there was a heavy storm. My motorhome was rocking all the time. It was very noisy. But I sleep on average 6 to 7 hours. That's what I sleep.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I try to get at least 8 hours of sleep. And some days on a weekend when I'm not teaching, I maybe get 10 hours.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, the point is when I travel a lot, meaning when I move my motorhome a lot, many miles a day, and I feel really exhausted, I sleep a little bit longer. But sometimes, actually, when the weather is bad, you know, I always love to be out in nature. So I try to be out during the daylight when it is possible. But sometimes I really feel very exhausted and I go to bed at 7 p.m. But the problem is I'm awakened at 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning. That's the problem. No, I don't need too much sleep, actually. 6 to 7 hours. Sometimes less, but 6 to 7 hours.
It's amazing. Fantastic. Well, good for you, because whatever you're doing is working for you.
Yeah, man. I try to give my body what it needs. It's good food. If it needs a rest, I try to do so. Man. You know, when I was younger, you know, building up career, if it was in corporate world or building my own business, I didn't always listen to my body, to be honest. I didn't. And it was not a good choice, to be honest. So, but I learned, okay, listen to your body, because actually work is never running away, even if there's a deadline. And if I give my body a rest, the next day, I can work more focused, more concentrated. I make less mistakes. So I'd be much more efficient. That's what I learned. I give my rest.
I think that's a sign of maturity. Definitely. I know I typically work out 2, sometimes 3 times a day. And on Sunday, my wrist was just killing me. When you spin a lot, and, you know, TRX you use, but spinning definitely is hard on the wrist. And I said, I'm not doing anything on Sunday. I'm just not doing anything so that I can give my body a rest. And I was okay with it. But maybe 5 years ago, I would have been freaking out. There would be no way.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last point is for these blue zones is to have some certain habits in all these 5 areas. Actually, it's 4. more or less. So we can summarize them in 4, and then we just finish it. First of all of them are kind of religious or spiritual. It's, maybe you want to ask me what's the difference between religious or spiritual. But my terms is religion is if you believe something that somebody else experienced, Jesus thousands of years ago, or Muhammad, or whatever. Spiritual is what is your own experience. But in every area in these 5 areas, people are very religious or spiritual. So they're typically in religious communities. That's quite interesting. So we know that this also reduces rates of depression, social support, because when you're spiritual and you have also social support, that's one thing. Another thing is that they have a life purpose. That's very important, especially what I see in the Western world. People don't have a life purpose. They function, they go to work, they function, yes. Maybe they're in a functional mood or in a survival mood, but they don't have. Most of them don't have a life purpose. That's many people tell me when they come to a coaching, I don't have a purpose. So they're having all these areas have a life purpose, and when you have a life purpose, it's very good for your well-being, of course, especially for your mental health. What is very interesting in all these 5 areas, I realized this myself, and I've been living 15 years on this island in Spain, is older and younger generation people live together. That's very interesting. So when there's a party, a fiesta going on in the village, there are 4, even sometimes 5 generations partying together. You know, babies, even at midnight. You know, the babies, 2-year-old, 10-year-old, teens are there. In the 30s, in the 50s, the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s. So older and young people live together. So what they don't do is like we do in a normal Western society. Bring in the small ones in the kindergarten and the old ones in the residential, so they're not disturbing us to make career. In this area, people live together in a community. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
so
it is interesting. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So especially for older people, the point is, and I see from my mom, when you bring in a residency, they don't have a purpose of life. They don't have to look for she loves to look for the grandkids for my sons, for example. So older people need a purpose, and in a community, they're still, you know, doing a little bit in the household, doing a little bit in the farm, or just looking about the grandkids or grandkids. So that they need a purpose.
You know, it's interesting the point that you made about the families living together. I feel like globally, because of the pandemic and the results of what happened to people, generations started living together, where you could have even 3 generations, 4 generations living together. And that can be really challenging, I imagine. But thinking that people in these blue zones, they've been doing it all along, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very, very important. And to be honest, because you mentioned the pandemic, we call it the Bratwurst area. Here in Europe, and especially in Germany and Austria, is that people, after being separated so many times from families, beloved ones, from friends, there is more and more desire to be in a community, not in a group, in a community. And by the way, I bring an interview guest next Tuesday, and we're going to talk about communities. What's the difference between a group and community? So we see it here, especially here in Europe, and I also know from the US that people have more, they want to be in a community, much more. They missed it, especially the last 4 years. Absolutely, it's very important. And this is also the last part here, meaning that in all 5 areas they live in so-called healthy social networks. So you have friends, family rounds, and so you live in a healthy community. That's very, very important. What is a community? Maybe just a short interpretation. Well, we have an interview next week about this with a friend of mine. The difference between a group and community. A group, for example, when you go to a rock concert, a lot of people are lining up to get into the stadium or in the hall. So all people, so what a group has together is they have a goal, a certain goal. So they go to the rock concert. That's a group of people, but they have nothing in common. After the concert, everybody goes home. This is a group, or a group of people joining a seminar. During the seminar, they're together, but then everybody goes its own way. That's a group. A community is, especially when you go with a bunch of friends from high school or university together to a concert, you're also lining up. You also have a certain goal, meaning seeing this concert or joining a seminar, whatever. But afterwards, you still stay together because you know each other, you support each other. So a community is people are supporting each other, helping each other. That's the difference to a group. And in these 5 areas, they have a very healthy social network, meaning they're living in healthy communities, supporting, taking care about each other.
That's phenomenal. So many things to consider about every year that we're here, we get a year older. We have a choice right now. We can make a decision that we're going to change something to mirror what these people are doing. But it sounds to me like in the blue zones, it's not just one thing. I'm going to count calories. I'm only going to get this amount of time when I'm eating. I'm sleeping so much. You have to do all of it together, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a combination of healthy food, moderation alcohol, moderate exercise, getting enough sleep, and being happy, meaning having a purpose and living in a healthy community. Yeah, that's it.
Fantastic. Roland, we're actually at the end of our show already, and I'd love for you to share with our audience, especially we are now not only on social media and our YouTube channel, which we love, we're on Roku worldwide, which I wasn't aware there's a difference. There's Roku USA and then there's global. So we're on global, and we're also on Amazon Fire as of yesterday. So anybody out there who's got Amazon Fire Stick or Roku Stick, please go ahead and download USA Global TV and Radio. Roland, what do you do? Who can you help? And how can they contact you?
Okay, the easiest way to contact me is send me an email. Or go to the contact form on my website. So my website is my name, rolandfriedl.com. I will spell it for you guys. It's ROLANDFRIEDL.com. And the email is office@rolandfriedl.com. Send me an email whenever you want to connect with me, if there's something to share. If you want to build up a community, be part of a community, let me know. If you want to be a community of a men's community or a rewild your life community or a traveling community, let me know. Let's talk. It's all about sharing and caring and taking care about each other. I guess we are in a very interesting year. Maybe it's a very challenging year, this one. But if you stick together, meaning stay together, support each other, we're going to rock it. And you're more than welcome to contact me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Roland. We'll be coming right back with our next program, which is the Mallorca Connection. What will we be discussing today?
We are discussing two kind of emotions that really hold people back of being successful and having a joyful life. We talk about shame and guilty. Interesting topic.
Very interesting, and something that we probably all can relate to at some point in our lives. So thank you very much, Roland. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here today. We're going to turn the show over to our sponsors, so please do stay tuned and reach out to them as well. Thank you. We'll be back. Bye.
Thank you, and bye-bye. Thanks to our audience. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, I'm children's author Diane Floyd Bain, and I am co-host for several of the USA Global TV and radio shows. I joined because of the purpose of the USA Global TV and Radio. They provide content for the viewers and listeners, an opportunity for people around the world to have their own show or even be a guest on an existing show. We truly believe in helping others get their positive message out to the world. We also have the opportunity for the listeners. You can watch on several platforms, and on YouTube, you can ask questions and even give a comment. We absolutely love it. I love being part of the USA Global TV and Radio because I love positive messages. And who doesn't? And we need more of that in the world. We are a family, and we hope you will join us and become part of the family too.